Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. It's Good Friday, April 15th, 2022. We're very glad you're with us this morning. Our agenda this morning, we'll start out with success stories. If anybody's got any good news to share, hopefully you can please share it with us today. We'll then go to our 30-second introductions. We'll have everybody put their information in the Zoom chat window. We'll then go to our committee reports. We'll hear about workshop, job fairs, practice interview team, the interview success workshop, and the career tip of the week. And then we'll have our main event right around 10 o'clock or so. For those people on Zoom, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please just open up the Zoom chat window. You're also welcome. We'll have you put your personal information in it when we ask for your contact information here in just a couple of minutes. For those watching on Facebook right now, good morning. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please just enter your questions into the comment field. I am monitoring that feed for you. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007 when the prior leader of the group got a job and said, who wants to take over? I think I scratched my face. He said, okay, Jeff, you're it. So I've been doing that since. So that's that. In 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those who are unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I launched a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon for $15, but if you see me in person, I always have them with me in my car, and they're only $10, so you can get it cheaper if you buy it from me direct. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team. You'll hear more about that in just a couple of moments. We like to start the meeting off with good news. I don't know, nobody emailed me this week. Do we have anybody on the call who's landed, who's got good news to share? Going once, going twice? Anybody? And we'll move on then. Okay. What we'd like everybody to do now is please open up the chat window, and we want everybody to put the 30-second introductions in there. Put in your name, comma, phone number, comma, email address, comma, position you're looking for, comma, 2 or 3 target companies, and then hit the return key. What I will do is I will put all this information out to everybody who's put their information in the chat this afternoon or this morning, and I will get that out to everybody this afternoon. And please look over the list and please see who maybe you can help. Somebody, a company that maybe you've got contacts at, somehow, if everybody can help one person every day, that would be a real benefit, and try to help each other. I also use the information you put in the Zoom chat window or in the comment field to mark you on the roster so that we know you're with us today. If I don't know you're with us, you won't be counted on the roster. You won't be officially here, and we won't know about you. You won't get emails this afternoon from us. For those people watching on Facebook right now, if you put your information in the comment field, in the chat field, I will delete that information as soon as the session is over. So that is available for you. Okay, we'll put 30 seconds on the clock. All righty, let's see here. It's time to hear, too far, went one slide too far. It's time to hear about job, career fairs, training, and workshops that are happening. Good morning, Eldon.
Good morning, Jeff. Happy Friday, everybody. As Jeff said, I'm going to give you information about career and job fairs and special workshops or events. This information comes from the calendar tab at the website careerdfw.org. You'll notice on the calendar the various colored items on the calendar. They represent different categories of things going on that are relevant to your job search. I urge you to explore the calendar. There is very great information on there that will assist you in your endeavors. All right, having said that, I go through these items fairly quickly. If you hear something that catches your ear that you're interested in, I urge you to go to the calendar, click on the appropriate tab, and you'll normally find more information about that event than I'm presenting at this particular point in time. All right, this week's career and job fairs. The Second Chance Career Job Fair will be held at the Larry Johnson Recreation Center at 3700 Dixon Avenue in Dallas on Friday, April 15th, today, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The Denton Community Job Fair will be held Thursday, April 21st from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Denton Civic Center. That's located at 321 East McKinney Street in Denton, Texas. The Arlington Career Fair by Choice Career Fairs will be held Thursday, April 21st from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Doubletree by Hilton Arlington DFW South, and that's located at 1507 North Watson Road in Arlington. This week's special workshops or events. First one coming up is how to use reference solutions to identify and research target companies, put on by the Fort Worth Career Search Network. Will be held Monday, April 18th from 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. This is a 3-day event. They'll be held April 18th, 19th, and 20th, and all 3 items are there on the calendar. This is hosted by Mike Ray, who was a former member of this group, who's the VP and Director of Marketing and Product Management. There's a Zoom link to participate in that one. If you want to find out more, I urge you to go to that tab.
That is just a one-day event on, that's just a one-day event.
Oh, I thought they said that was a 3-day event.
No, no, there's another one. The next one coming up is a 3-day event. This is just a one-day event.
Oh, I'm sorry. My mistake, Jeff. I thought I looked at.
That's okay. This is, yeah, the Fort Worth CSN meeting on Monday morning.
Okay, well, there are 2 other items on there that I just thought were the same thing. Let me see. No, I'm sorry. Let's move on. All right, there's a workshop on learning how to use Microsoft PowerPoint 2016. This is the thing that was the 3-day. I'm sorry, this was the 3-day event.
Right.
And this is a class held from 12:30 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. on Monday, April 18th, Tuesday the 19th, and Wednesday the 20th. There's a link to find out more about that.
Yeah, and just FYI, this is sponsored by Jewish Family Services, and they have given me for the next 2 months all their training. So every week they have a different topic that starts on Monday. So if you're interested, please go check it out and you'll be able to get some details. So every week there's a different thing starting on Monday.
Okay, and these are all virtual events, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, for the benefit of those who may not know, Jewish Family Services did in the past hold a lot of activities on premise, but their site is fairly small, so it was always important to make sure that you called them and let them know you're coming so they would have a space for you. Online, LinkedIn Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Join Locke Alderson, Terry Sullivan, Ruth Lipsky, or Kurt Vondemutter each week for an online session on LinkedIn. This week's session will be presented by Ruth Lipsky. There's a Zoom link and a Facebook link to participate in that event. Online interviewing Wednesdays at 1 p.m. New for 2022. You can observe a practice interview from the pit crew each Wednesday from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. And there is a Zoom link to participate in that event. And finally, also online, the Effective Resume Seminar. Join us each month for the first and third Thursdays for our Effective Resume Seminar. This week's presenter is Rex Shoate, who was a HR manager formerly with Choctaw. I'm not sure where Rex is these days, but he's a very entertaining speaker. I urge you, if you haven't heard Rex before, I urge you to go hear him. He also participates in the annual job fair that's been going on for many years. That's held out in Frisco. And there's a Zoom link and a Facebook link for that. And that's it for this week.
Eldon, thank you very, very much. All right, let's see here. If you know somebody who's unemployed, somebody who just got laid off, please tell them about Career DFW and Career USA, two totally free websites. We don't collect any personal information. We're just trying to help anybody who is unemployed. All right, time to hear from the practice interview team. Mark.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. Good morning, everybody. The PIT crew had a good week this week, helping people to improve their interviewing skills and hopefully land that next position soon. I'm going to put my contact information in the chat window. This is the PIT crew, and those emails go to me. That phone number forwards to my phone. So if you want to reach out to me, use that phone number. There's also my LinkedIn profile. So if you'd like to link in with me, just include a message when you do that, a note that says we met on North Dallas Career Focus Group, and I'll add you to my network. And that'll be a benefit to you when you're looking for contacts inside your target companies. So the PIT crew is all about building your confidence in an interview situation. So, at some point after practicing several times, you're going to be able to handle just about anything that comes up during an interview. And yesterday, we gave some feedback to the candidate who was practicing about how to answer a question when when the answer is no. Do you have experience doing this? You don't. So how do you answer that question? Well, there's a technique, and we talked to him about it. And when you come to the PIT crew or watch some of the videos, you may learn that as well. But the PIT crew is all about practice now. So knowing how to answer that question does not necessarily mean that's how you'll answer it in the moment. So we try to make our interviews as realistic as possible. They're based on a job description that you provide. So it's something that you pick out, and of course your resume, and then where you are in the interview process. You're early in the process, or maybe later in the process when you're talking to higher levels of leadership. We'll adjust the questions and the interview experience to match that. So it's very customized and personalized, and the interviewers are job seekers just like you. Most of them, all of them have been in job transition, and most of them are currently in job transition. I myself was laid off 3 times towards the end of my career, and they've all been hiring managers as well. So you'll get a lot of great feedback after the interview is over with things you can improve and things you're already strong in. So when you're ready to practice, just send your information. That's the job description in your resume to dallaspitcrew@gmail.com. Jeff's got it circled there on the screen. Pretty much anything you want to do with the PIT crew, that's the way to get started. And if you just send me a note, I'll return to you a description of what I just said. Or you can even go to dallaspitcrew.com, and there's a description of what I just said. So that's the 2-way interview offering from the PIT crew. PIT crew also has a 1-way interview offering where we use a tool called Easy Hire. Jeff arranged for that to be donated to his organization, careerdfw.org, and then it's available to the PIT crew as well. I get to customize it to what I think is the best for you, and my goal behind the PIT crew's version of Easy Hire is just to get you used to using the tool. So I give you the questions in advance. There are 4 common questions that you're going to hear in almost every interview, and you get a chance to interact with the tool. You're limited to 3 minutes per answer, so the whole thing is going to take 12 minutes. You request it from me, I send you a link, you engage the tool, you'll see the questions there, you get a chance to answer and record them. And then once you're done, they send me the link for your video, and so I'll forward that to you and you can take a look at it. So I'm not going to look at it. So this is pretty confidential and a simple way to do it. Last time somebody used it, they did it once and they thought they could do better, and so they did it again the next day. So that's possible too. You just do it over and over and over until you get comfortable with these 1-way interview tools. There's my LinkedIn profile. I mentioned how to link in with me, send a note when you do that. And most of my connections are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I've lived and worked here since the early 80s. So volunteers, I'm always looking for volunteers because my volunteers, the ones who give the interviews, also land. Just had one land. He starts on Monday. And so I'm always looking to backfill those positions that are available on the PIT crew. So if you've been a hiring manager, doesn't matter what industry, just that you've been a hiring manager as part of your professional responsibility, then I can get you an opportunity to help others while you're in job transition. And I guarantee you'll get a lot out of it. You'll learn a lot about interviewing and become, and shorten your job search as well. So that's everybody's goal is, less time without pay. And reach out to me if you're interested in being a volunteer for the pit crew.
Mark, thank you very, very much. All right, time to hear from, come on, slides. Here we go, from Walt Glass, Interview Success Workshop. Good morning, Walt.
Well, good morning, everyone. This is Good Friday, so it's going to be a celebration of Christ's death on the cross this weekend. But I also like to help people with interviewing skills, and I do it a little differently because when I was gently laid off by a phone call from HR telling me this was my last day, and we'll say goodbye to everybody, and you're going to get a letter. You got any questions? And it doesn't matter what the questions are. So there weren't any. And that was how I was let go. So nice of HR to do it so gently. But I figured out I better get into an interviewing situation. So I went through all the things that we talk about here on Jeff's sessions, got into the interview, and they were asking me one question. So the hiring manager said, well, Walter, what can you do for me? I didn't have a clue. I didn't have any idea what to do. I didn't know what to say. I could tell you about all the things I've done. I wasn't exactly sure what my background and skills would apply in this particular role. I couldn't even describe it very well. So I had really picked out the wrong role, the wrong company, and the wrong preparation. So I figured out I better change all three of those things. So I put together this interview workshop. I had attended the pit crew and I thought it was fantastic. I love what Mark does, how he leads that group. I like to participate with that. And I think it's very, very well recommended by all of its participants as well. Yet I saw another thing that we ought to do, and that is just exactly what are we selling in an interview? And everyone agrees it's a selling situation. And so I built a model called I Am, I Do, I Help. We sell who we are, our soft skills, our characteristics, our personality. We sell I Do. That's our experience, using our hard skills, our education, et cetera, certifications, whatever, to actually do the activities to show that we can do the job. And then we sell how we can help, which I see most interviews lacking greatly. We want to include that because that's why they're really hiring us, not only to do this stuff, but to achieve specific objectives and results from the activities that we do. So it's a very informal workshop. It's not a formal process at all. You do get an interview, you get a recording of your interview. I only do 1 or 2 people at a time. I do it mostly on Tuesdays from 9 to 11 Central Time, doing 1 or 2 people at a time, and can schedule more if demand or more people would like to be interested in taking advantage of this. It is free, doesn't cost you anything. But, it's things like, give you an example, we talk about, our soft skills. And I say, well, I looked at the job description and it says this multitasking, fast-paced environment, leading people, et cetera. And so if I was asked what are my strengths, I might say I'm good at multitasking. Well, so what? So a lot of people are, but if you said I'm good at multitasking, and for example, I can actually give this presentation and give this talk to you and charge my phone at the same time. So a real live example of what you can do is going to help and strengthen your interview skills. So we talk about those kind of things. I suggest that you come and learn the 12 basic categories of questions, our strategies, options, ways that we can answer those questions depending on what the question is, who's asking, and where you are in the process. So register to attend. Look me up on my LinkedIn About section. It tells you more about it. My Walt_Glass@yahoo.com email is reserved just for the workshop. Just send that and I'll give you some dates of availability and I can get you scheduled. This is so informal that there's no stress involved. There's no anxiety involved because we can all have learning without squirming. This one I gave birth to about 15 minutes ago, so it may be premature. We'll find out. But anyway, today could be a bit taxing. yet our time we should be maxing. Practice interviewing should not be laxing. Get that job and we will be relaxing.
Oh, oops. Oh, sorry, Gary. Where'd my applause go? Give me a second here. Here we go. Very good for a last minute poem. Thank you very, very much. All right, it's time to hear the career tip of the week. You can find it on the Career DFW or Career USA website. There's a new career tip every Saturday afternoon. Hopefully you'll read it. Those will be those V8 moments. So Rosanna, good morning, and thank you for reading it today.
Good morning, Jeff. Good morning, everyone. The career tip of the week for this week is dated April the 10th, and it's quit your job after less than a year. Here's how to discuss it in interviews. And this is by Jennifer Liu. So employers are desperate to hire these days, and they're more willing to overlook a short stint or even a gap in your work history. That's good news for young workers who feel their jobs have been overhyped during the Great Resignation. And so a recent survey from the Muse found 80% of millennials and Gen Z job seekers, oops, sorry, I got something in my way. Hold on one second. Oops, so sorry. Hold on one second. I would get a screen freeze. I apologize. All right, here we go. All right, now where did I leave off? I apologize, everyone.
Second
All right, so that's good news. Let me just start over. Employers are desperate to hire these days, and they're more willing to overlook a short stint or even a gap in your work history. And that's good news for young workers who feel their new jobs have been either overhyped during the Great Resignation. So a recent survey from the Muse found 80% of millennials and Gen Z job seekers say it's acceptable to them to leave a new job before 6 months if it doesn't live up to the expectations. So if you're preparing to jump back into a job search mode after a short time away, here are a few ways to talk about it through the hiring process. First, prepare an explanation for leaving so soon. There are ways to be honest and diplomatic about a short tenure if the job or company turned out to be different from what you expected, says the Muse founder and CEO, Catherine Minshew. If possible, discuss how the scope of the job changed between the time you interviewed, when you accepted it, when you began working. Did the responsibilities change? Did your hiring manager or colleagues quit? Were there other organizational changes that impacted how you feel about the company or leadership? Minshew suggests saying something along the lines of, obviously, it's not ideal to have such a short stint at a company. When I was interviewing for that position, some of the things I was looking for were XYZ. There was a lot that was communicated to me about the role and the type of work environment, and I was really excited for it. But when I joined the team, there were some really key differences. There were some really key differences in what I expected compared to what was advertised. So it wasn't the right move professionally. So I left. Another way would be show your impact. If you had an impact, even in just a few months on the job, that's something to highlight, says career coach Chelsea J. Did you hit the ground running to meet important deadlines for your team? Or overhaul a workflow the company will continue using moving forward? Talk about how quickly you were able to adapt into a new work setting, even though it was one ultimately you didn't enjoy, and how you were able to help the business in a short amount of time. Next, focus on how you learned from the experience. Self-awareness goes a long way, and you can even play it to your strengths. Lean on the fact that you stood up for yourself and what you want in a job or company, and that you were quick to see the other organization wasn't delivering on it. You can tell them you're big on self-awareness, that you recognize the job was a bad fit and wanted to get out in time for someone else who could truly enjoy it. That's what Jay says. So then focus on how the experience reaffirmed what you want in a job or company, values like flexibility, innovation, or the ability to help people, for example, and that you know how to look for that in interviews now. So instill some confidence by adding these values are things like, and then I'm focused on my next role, and I really want to find a company where I can stay for a long time. Those are some added suggested lines that you can use in an interview. Another thing another way would be to discuss what you're hoping to avoid. Job interviews aren't a good place to drag a former employer, even if you feel they misled you in the hiring process. Keep it honest and professional. If you want, you can frame bad experiences as something you hope to avoid in the future. For example, if you didn't like the competitive nature of the previous company, Minshew suggests saying something like, I thrive best in a really collaborative environment where I am given a lot of information about the various areas of the company, and then colleagues want to help each other out, and there's a minimum of politics or gossip. Next, keep the conversation focused on the future. You also do not have to go into even a single detail about the bad work experience if it doesn't serve the interview. Your goal in the interviews is to take everything you learned and accomplished to reason why you would be the perfect fit for the new company and what you can do for their bottom line. Keep the conversation simple and future focused. The past work environment was no longer for me, and that is what I'm looking for going forward. One more way would be talk about a side project. If you worked on the side business or project while at your last job, focus on what you learned while on your own. If your side hustle directly relates to the job you're applying for, that's extra experience and skills that you can talk about. Even if the skill sets don't totally line up, bring out the soft skills that would make you a good employee and leader, like time management or ability to delegate. And lastly, you could just leave it off. Finally, if you have the option to leave the old job off your resume entirely, especially if it lasted a few weeks or months and it really isn't related to the work you want to do, if the stint is short enough, Minshew says, it's perfectly acceptable to remove it from your resume. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the career tip of the week. And I wish you all a happy Easter weekend.
Thank you very, very much. Wonderful. Thank you for reading this week for us today.
No.
All right, coming up in just a few minutes, we're going to hear from Rick Martinez about the 10 job search rules you should break now if you want to get hired. Upcoming sessions, next Friday, we're going to talk all about labor law. If you have any labor law questions, please send them to me by Wednesday, next Wednesday, 4/20 at 1 p.m. I will then forward them on to our speaker, and she'll be sure to address those issues. The only rule is that you cannot talk about a specific company. You can't say company X did this, blah, blah, blah. But if you just have a generic issue, you know, a friend of yours had this issue or something, keep it very generic. She'll be glad to answer anything you come up with. Alicia's been with us many, many years several years on a yearly basis. She's been a labor law attorney for many, many years. So if you've got any questions, and just so you know, she represents companies. She does not represent individuals. So that's why she doesn't want to know anything specific about a company. But if you have an issue that you'd like to have addressed, please just send me that question and I'll get those to her for next Friday. All right, it's time for our main event. Rick Martinez is with us. Rick is the president and CEO of R2 Technologies. As he likes to say, placing hard to fill IT positions. So Rick is a recruiter. He's been doing this for many, many years. He knows what he's talking about. So Rick, thank you very much for being with us. And I'll turn it over to you.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. Thank you so much for the invitation. Good morning, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Jeff, am I allowed to share my screen?
Yeah, yes, you are.
Okay, great. Let me go ahead and get to that first. And I'm excited about being here. What a great time to be on the job market, being able to talk to folks and everything. I'm excited about always had an invitation to come to Career DFW. And one thing I'd like to share with everyone is I have a presentation I'm going to walk through, but I definitely am here for you. And as I bring through something and as I start with the dialogue, if you have any questions, Jeff, please interrupt me, put them in the chat, or if someone wants to take yourself off mute and go ahead and ask me. I would love to hear, to address that particular question that you may have at the time. So let's get started. So I'm gonna, what I'd like to do is first start about talking about the marketplace, talk about some companies that are hiring that may or may not be on your radar, how to position yourself for these positions and for the job market today, and some missteps that we see, some things that maybe you've heard and that maybe we could do to make things correct for you to help you with your job search. So here we go. And so that's what we're going to talk about here, and then talk about really you're in control. You are the one that's going to find the next opportunity that's the best fit for you. So just a little bit about myself. My journey here is that I am a professional. I graduated a long time ago from a school called Trinity University down in San Antonio. Texas Instruments hired me out of college. I had a degree in management information systems, and I went and I worked in the, back then it was called the equipment group. It was called then the Defense Systems Group, and now TI is it's today it's called Raytheon. From there, I went to work for PepsiCo, and I helped build them a forecasting model for the manufacturing of their various beverage and chip products, as well as market segmentation. I also worked for some other companies you may have heard, ExxonMobil, Citigroup, and so forth. I started my company. This is actually my 25th year in business. And I'm excited because for the last 25 years, I help people grow their career. I help them pay their mortgage. I help them send their kids to college. And it's been an exciting time for me. It's something that I've been able to really enjoy doing at this point. Let's more talk about the marketplace. Let's talk about what is happening here in North Texas. And I used to say Dallas, then I used to say Dallas-Fort Worth, DFW. Now we're North Texas because, of course, there's Irving, there's Arlington, there is Alliance Airport. Even Denton and Waco are showing their face for various professionals. So now I'm just saying North Texas, and wow, it's a great place to be. Let's be more specific. So the North Texas area, the DFW area, led the nation in job growth. And this means we've topped both over the metropolitan areas of New York, LA, San Jose, Chicago. All of them, and this data is based upon the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. We've got some large companies that have moved here. And these companies, you may have seen out in Westlake is Charles Schwab. McKesson is there in the Irving area. Amazon, if you ever driving to the airport, you just can see those two large distribution centers. Now, of course, my intent is saying, well, Rick, I'm a professional. I don't know if I want to go and sort packages. But with with Amazon, there are a lot of professional roles that are there associated in supporting the logistics and the distribution of those distribution centers. So don't overlook those opportunities there and the positions that they may have that our company are brought in there. Currently, as of this month or so, there's still, the pandemic has not slowed down the relocation of headquarters here to North Texas. We have over 100 major companies across the US that are looking at North Texas, that are looking at Texas overall in relocating. So more things, more opportunities are coming. Just in the last 24 months, in addition to those 100 companies looking, 75 large major companies have relocated here. You can go to the Dallas Business Journal. You can see some of these companies that have moved their national or international headquarters there. So one thing is to start looking at those, doing those research, identifying which ones are you going to target. But another way that I want to challenge you with this is that I really want to say, let's just say, for example, McKesson. McKesson is a pharmaceutical company, it's healthcare. There are a number of companies that are also moving here that are vendors of McKesson. These are companies that support them, that are their suppliers, that are people that are also need a presence here. I would go and start targeting those companies as well. Two primary reasons. Number one is that a lot of job seekers are only going to go look at McKesson, are going to go look at the large players. So there's less talent that you're competing against. And number two is that there are a lot of more opportunities in those positions because their talent started also, and there may be some chances we can open up some doors quite quickly, looking at their suppliers. Now, you may come back, so where? How can I find out where these are at? How do I know who these suppliers are? Guess what? All of these companies that are public publish their earnings report, their annual report. On there, they list their key vendors, their key suppliers. That's the best place to start. You can go to Google and Bing, top suppliers for McKesson. They'll come back with a list there. Those are things that I think you should have. I highly recommend you to do. So this I just read this morning. These are also international companies that are now having a presence here locally, not only in North Texas, but across Texas as itself. If you look at it, you can see the things, the map shows companies here. You can look at Toyota and, they have their large presence here in West Plano. But off this list, two companies that are on this list here in North Texas, I have actually engaged with as clients just this year. Just in the last 90 days, two of these companies here, we as my company have engaged with them to help them find professionals. So I would take this list, and Jeff knows this. I've already sent him a PDF copy of my presentation. He's going to publish it. You can reach out to him. I'll have my contact information at the end of the presentation. You can reach out to me as well. But I would add this as where you can find some targets, find some areas where there are opportunities there. So please take note of all of the international companies coming to the great state of Texas. So let's talk about the labor market. Labor market is, look at this. As of March, the national unemployment is 3.6. This is the first time, and I've been giving these presentations for over 15 years. I don't expect it to last long. The Texas unemployment is slightly higher than the national average. Wow, even DFW is slightly higher, or North Texas slightly higher. However, IT, and that's what we focus on our service offerings on, IT is 2% of unemployment, which means 98% of the workforce is employed. You may ask, well, what is it? Why is Texas slightly higher than the nation? Two primary reasons. I think maybe by the end of the year, this will definitely change. The two primary reasons are hospitality and leisure. Those two sectors are still recovering. We're all opening our doors again. We're all planning to take our trips here this summer, but that is just taking a little bit longer to recover. Plus, it's harder. Unemployment is still a little bit high because some of those people aren't willing to come back yet, the workers in those bigger sectors. So that's the reason why it's slightly higher in there. But you also have to remember, we're still a great employment center. We still lead the nation. I shouldn't say I've been tracking this, but I have been aware of studies for the past 3 years. And for the last 3 years, Texas leads the nation in people moving here. And they're moving here because of the economic opportunities and employment job opportunities here. So just last month, we added 90,000 new jobs, even though we're slightly higher in unemployment. Those are 90,000 new jobs across the state that we've added. So last things I want to kind of talk about, like I mentioned before, we've grown in job opportunities all across most of all industries. We're finally moving forward, like I mentioned, leisure and hospitality People are now hiring back in hotels and restaurants, in travel, vacations and such. Construction's right behind them. I mean, I'm out driving the past 2 weeks back to clients again, and there are a number of cranes here. There's always construction out there. I mean, see the big meccas of the HEBs being built here in Plano and Frisco. That's a big complex as well. And then lastly, a professional business services shop. But look at that. Tens of thousands of jobs in each of these primary industries. All these things are opportunities here that hopefully would be doors open for you to go ahead and apply and get interviews with to be hired. So that's my thought there. So I love what the Career DFW does to help coach and mentor job seekers. And then of course, looking at your peers, looking at people that you entrust with, but sometimes there's some things in there that people might say you should be doing, but I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to say maybe you shouldn't, or you should rethink it. And let me just I'll walk you through the reasons why. And again, my goal is just to compliment what you're doing. I mean, you all have a good plan, a good direction, and my goal is to just give you 1 or 2 areas where you can go ahead and modify, change your strategy, or go add an additional path. You know, hopefully even with that slide that I have you with international companies, hopefully that's one area that you have to just check that box that you want to start looking into those companies as well. So one of the first things that people say when you start working with as a job seeker is that head to the job boards, go out there and let's start applying. You know, let's spray and pay, pay and spray. No, that didn't come out right. But my point being is that start applying. So my first bullet says, so job boards, all of them out there, you know, the big ones, the sector ones and all, they do, that's where 50% of all the applications to companies come. But the studies show that less than 1% of people that apply directly to a job board actually land their job. So my point is, if I don't want to discourage you from applying to a job board, to a listing, but hopefully you've learned through the coaching of the teams here that maybe that should not be your first choice. Secondly, what happens is by the time it hits the job board, it's more column fodder. They're looking for complementary candidates to the prime candidates that the hiring managers already lined up either internally or through their networking. And now they're just looking to see, is there any one last person that could take a look at? The second thing is, in my second bullet, is that, you know, what's happened today is companies are hiring. They are looking to add team members to their organization. However, sometimes they're being hired because someone has left. Well, every company that I've talked to, it's no longer the case. A person's left, I need to fill it. What has always happened is persons left, I have to go through the job approval process to make sure I can get authorization to hire and fill that position. Right? Doesn't make sense to me. That's just what companies do. And, you know, you can go ahead and I'm sure all of you can understand there's some reason, logic behind it, but the fact is they're all doing it. What that means though is, as a manager, I have an empty spot. I know I'm going to get it filled. However, it's going to take 2 to 3 weeks for it to go through the approval cycle. I'm not going to wait 2 or 3 weeks to start recruiting for this. I want to be able, the minute the job shows approval, I got HR's blessing. I want to have people fill in there so I can start interviewing that next day. And again, one of the things that happens, it doesn't hit the job board until that final approval or that last step of letter Z is done and the I is dotted, that it goes out to a job board. And again, you're now 2 to 3 weeks behind because of what's happening there. And then companies and recruiters, they're also being more selective and they're using these very niche job boards as well. So you may want to think about where you can target your responses better, where you can spend your time on applying and all. So keep that in mind. Don't just, so my goal here is don't just go straight to the job boards. There's probably better initial uses of your time. I hear a lot of times I'm going to start applying and talking to people once my resume is perfect. Yeah, and you know what? Number one, your resume should always be updated, even when you're working. Number two, it's never going to be perfect because that means that you're not continuing to revise it. So you want to have your resume be highly accurate. You want to be in the format and presentation that you'd like, but you always need to be modifying it. There's always going to be new terms, things that you're reading in job descriptions, things that you're reading about in articles and publications, in white papers. So you should always be changing that. Another thing that I read is that nationally, 64% of all resumes contain at least one spelling error. Don't trust your spell check on your computer. That's going to catch everything. You're going to have to read it, have your accountability partner read it, have someone else in this group read it. They will catch things that you will miss. And let me tell you, I do still today have managers that when they're hiring for a professional and they want to pay over $100,000 a year for it, if they find a spelling mistake, they move on because that's an attention to detail that they just missed. So please take heart to that. You know, the thing about the spell check on your computer is, you know, sometimes you're working and you just accept, you know, to your dictionary every word that you see because, or maybe your teenager or your spouse decided to do something and I don't want to use a spell check and just change it away. That's another reason why spell check you can't always trust. But my point is here, your resume should never be perfect because you're always modifying it and you're always customizing it. My last bullet is here to match the job description. So don't take heart to that and just keep your resume being revised. That's the best thing. Resume format doesn't matter. Okay, there are an infinite number of formats. You can even start writing a resume in Google and in Word, and it'll start asking you, do you want to start using templates? Use the formats the most comfortable to you. It is going to be changing. Like I said, you're having multiple versions of your resume, multiple formats are maybe good, maybe bad. The goal is, do you want to just find it where you have complementary white space, but you don't want to have it you know, so compact that you use every single piece of real estate on that sheet of paper. What we have found is that bullet items typically work better than a narrative. Now, if you're in a creative job, if you're in a possibly a nonprofit job, maybe narrative or paragraph is better. I only work with IT professionals. We only present bullet-based resumes, bullet item-based resumes. Whichever direction you may do, it's up to you. And again, having that peer review will give you good insight there. And the last thing is that I was just reading something else on LinkedIn this morning. I always recommend that whatever format you use, once you're completed, before you send it or email it, I'm a big proponent of saving it as a PDF. Save it as an Adobe document, because then you can ensure that how it's presented to the person, that the recipient, that it's going to be in the same format that you sent it. Not every computer is the same. Not every computer has the same page breaks, paragraph breaks, and all those things. And so you think your resume may be perfect, and yet there could be something out there that when they pull it up, that doesn't happen in there.
Rick, can you, Lily asked, can you explain what a right-hand rail means, what that means?
I do not know what a right-hand rail is.
No, I'm wondering if it may be the time frame that I was there at a particular position. In my resume, it's listed at the extreme right of the line that says the company and position. Would that be a right rail? Because I want to...
The right rail is, see how in the picture here, how here the, this is not a good resume because you don't want to ever include a picture on a resume.
Right.
But here he's got the rail on the left-hand side. Some people put the rail on the right-hand side.
Okay, so that's a rail.
And I think
Okay.
that's the difference in what you're doing, but you wouldn't want to use this for an ATS system. If you
I
were
wouldn't
doing
anyway. Yeah, no, because I know that we call it left panel and right panel, I guess. I'm more familiar with that terminology, but I wondered if there was something like left rail and right rail. I'll Google it and look too. It's okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I apologize. And I like putting pictures with my with each of my slides. I was doing this a couple nights ago. So first picture came out that looked good. So yes, you're right. And Jeff is also right. I would refrain from putting a picture on it, but that doesn't hurt for me to go ahead and deviate as well. It's a very high percentage. I remember reading it last year, but I don't remember the exact percentage, but it's somewhere in the 70 percentile. Of recruiters will always go to your LinkedIn profile, and they'll also search you out on social media, Instagram and Facebook and all. So please keep everything professional. Okay, my LinkedIn, I'm going to have a professional picture of me at a desk, and my Facebook's going to show me at the last concert I was at. We're going to look at all that stuff. For professional recruiting agencies, we're 95%. We will look and seek you out. And if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, we're going to ask why. So you want to have your picture out there in any means to be a professional at all times. I'm sure I'm not the first person that said that to you. Okay, let's see. This is great. Sorry, my computer just seemed to have locked up. I'm going to try to do this and try to launch one more time. Sorry, everybody. Let's see. So I am the IT guys having technical difficulties. All right, I'm going to add a couple more things as I get out here. Okay, thank you for your patience. So it's working on my end. Okay, are we? Does everybody now see going for quantity over quality?
Yep, you're good. There we go.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so you know, sometimes in your job search plan, you can say, I need to apply to 20 jobs a day. I need to make that's because that's going to be 100 jobs I apply to a week. That's going to be one of my top goals, to be able to make sure that I can be employed in a fast and timely way. And so you end up just being like a big truck going over speed bumps. You're just plowing through it, and you know, you check your tick box, and then every day you get 20 applies. You pat yourself on the back, and you're done at 2 o'clock. And what ends up happening is you're doing one generic resume. You're doing the one that you think is perfect, and then you don't care. You're applying for it says your last title was director of marketing, and you're applying to a principal of marketing and analytics, and so you think you know they're going to hire you because you're the perfect fit. You have to, again, my emphasis here is to customize. You want to have your resume in line with that job description as much as possible. That's why you're always customizing it. You know, a lot of times if you're applying to a job board or to a company's website, those ATS, they are looking and screening for things, and they're looking for principal. They're not looking for director. So you need to find ways to mesh things up. And when you just plow through trying to, it's a great goal to put it whatever you want to hit, 20 applies a day, but they got to be good applies. You know, I'd rather do 5 great applies where you've meshed everything up for the last 3 jobs of that job description than 20 applies where you've not done anything but hit the word submit. So what I say to do instead is to create a master resume that includes all your skills, all your certifications, all your work experiences, trim it, tailor it, even if it's highlight and unhighlight. Move your bullets around. This one's more leadership focused. Move your leadership bullets for that job position up higher, and the other bullets lower. Where this one's a hands-on lead role, then move your hands up, detailed tasks. Move those bullets up higher to that description of your resume, and move those leadership tasks down lower. So, and you can't, and it's going to take time. You're going to do that, and that's my suggestion to be able to make sure that you have a better use of your time submitting yourself to these jobs. That's what you want to do. And it's going to take harder than my work, but guess what, folks? You should be working as hard or harder in your job search than you were looking for a job. You need to do that. You don't want your goal is not to be done at 2 or 3 o'clock so you can get to Starbucks and walk the dog and see the 4 o'clock news. You should be walking out of your workspace 7, 8 o'clock at night because you've had a good day of customizing your resume and networking on LinkedIn and talking to people and meeting with your accountability partner. That's how you're going to get a job. So that's my encouragement there. All right. I used to think this one you can argue with me. I'm going to argue with myself on this one. But the statement's worth thinking about. You know, sometimes you need to reach out to everybody in your network. You know, people at church, people that you on your softball team, people that you play bocce ball with, as well as neighbors and friends and relatives and such. Otherwise, this suggests to be more strategic in your network. Okay, strategic in who you reach out to. And the point to just think about is in your network, you may know decision makers, hiring managers, people that have hired in the past. And it's saying, let your network have multiple iterations or waves of your reach out. Go to the people that are most familiar with you and your work, past employers, past managers, and reach out to them first, and schedule coffee with them, schedule a Zoom call with them, schedule a time when maybe, and again, they may only want to talk to you after their work hours, so 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night, and focus strategically on a fraction of them. And then go back and start that second layer where now you're reaching out to your casual acquaintances from Bible study or from your running group or the people that you ride your bike with and all. So take your pick. Both of them will work. One is here. This is suggested to be strategic and go through layers because you have a number of different items that you want to try to accomplish in your job search. So if you're, just having coffee, because again, your goal is to have 1 coffee a day, and you're talking to someone that you know from some other group, and you find you find out that they're a landscaper, they have a landscape business. That may not be the best use of your time in that first iteration. Whereas if you're pushing previous employers, and not only previous employers, but their peers. I mean, I'm sure when you were working at a company 2 and 3 companies ago, you knew more than the manager that you reported to. Reaching out to them that they still know your work from being a part of their team, for being a liaison to their group, there still may be a better choice to be strategic with. So that's the point in here. Sometimes people tell you, go to your whole network, publish out to everyone. This is suggesting be more strategic. The same end result, but in iterations because you're being more efficient and prudent with your time so that you can continue to touch all the different types of techniques that you've learned that you want to accomplish in order to get yourself exposed. So be sure you're qualified. I want to take heart, people. It's okay to apply. Your goal should be to apply for 60% of what the job description is. Okay, that's easy for men to accept. We see a lot of men that apply to a lot of things because they are competent and they can do that. I want to speak to our women job seekers. For whatever reason, women believe that they have to be 90+% hitting the skills and requirements of a job description before they even apply. So of course, my intent is not, don't exaggerate or lie about things that you've done, but look at the jobs that you're qualified for and just target 65% of it, more than half. I can't tell you, okay, I own a professional placement company, and we only are paid when we find the candidate that a company hires. And so our job is to screen, qualify, and select individuals that we believe are going to be able to be hired for that company. At least once a year, we find that someone that we initially qualified and then we decided not to move forward with because they didn't fit the skills, we find them to be hired by our client through another methods, through another competitor, whatever means. And of course, that's never fun. And of course, I try to talk to the manager and us, you know, we found John and we saw him a month ago, but he didn't have this, this, or this. And so we didn't move forward with it because those are key things that you said. And the feedback is, you're right, and he doesn't, but I can teach those, but he did have this other thing. And we're going, well, you never mentioned that. It's nowhere in the job description. And it's nowhere. Yes, but I knew that was inherent. So my point being, if you try to wait till you're 90% qualified for any job before you apply to, there's things there that you may not know, because no one's going to put everything in the job description. And the leading job boards are now saying shorter, smaller job descriptions are better. So that means managers and companies are leaving out more of things that are critical to the job. Again, so the point being, apply to things that you're qualified for, but don't think it has to be a perfect match. Give yourself the ability and let the company determine if they want to reach out to you. That's my goal there. Okay, here's something that we talk about. Again, we place technical professionals, and there can be a whole dialogue, right, Jeff, just on cover letters. I don't care for them. I never read them. Perhaps if you're trying to do a career change, let's say if you've always been in banking and finance, and now you want to get into manufacturing, or you want to get into tech or startups, the cover letter is going to be a great a great opportunity for us. Other than that, we don't release it. But if you are going to use a cover letter, again, it can't be a generic cookie cutter. It's got to be thoughtful, and it's got to use some of the terms in that job description and then match them up to why you think you're a good fit for that role. So the last sentence, so make sure you craft it strong, short, and along with matching it with what the resume is. So
Rick, question for you, Rick. If, let's say that you haven't worked for the last couple of years, maybe because you had a sick family member, maybe you were taking care of a parent, number one, would you even consider hiring somebody that with those with that? And two, would that be the kind of thing you put in that cover letter that would maybe help you get get past?
Sure, yeah. The answer is yes and yes. Again, a cover letter would be good, but then for people like me that don't read cover letters, that didn't help. All I see is your last job was 2020. So what I encourage you is you would put from 2020 to present, Family Leave Act, and just put in there due to COVID concerns, addressing family needs. Legally, they cannot ask you about that. And
so actually put that on your resume. You're saying
absolutely,
put it as a job listing on your resume.
That's what I do.
Okay.
Because, and again, for those of us that don't read cover letters, that's going to be the way that that question will be answered. And you know what? It is a perfect, understandable idea of so many people that have multi-generations in their household, and they couldn't work because of the pandemic, and no one is. And I have Probably 10% of our candidate pool is that way, and never once has it been questioned by any of, and our clients are Fortune 50 down to startups, and no one has ever challenged that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good question. Okay, times people say I've been guilty when I was a job seeker, waiting for that perfect job. I don't want to apply because I don't want to waste people's time. There, this is the time that I'm in a transition time period. I want to find that perfect job. Good luck. They're not always out there. And the woman that talked about the job tip for the week or so, she said, right, it's better to have a bridge and have a thing where complementary and growing skills than waiting another 6 months for that perfect job. It could be more tactical. You have you got a car to fill up with gas, right? You have utilities to pay. Finding those bridge jobs are all fine. And everything that she said was I completely agreed with. It's your choice to put those short-term jobs on your resume. They could be a temp position. They could have been something as a bridge. They could have been something companies recognize that sometimes they're hiring someone that's overqualified, that's used to making 120K, but because of their need and their budget, they can only pay 75, and the person takes that job. No harm, no foul. Both parties know that you're going to keep looking for that job that's more competitive with what your value is, and you're leaving after 6 weeks or 9 weeks or 3 months because you found a 125K job that's more in line with your skills. It's better to do that than just to sit back and wait for that perfect job, or challenge you not to do that. Now that we're out of the okay, we can argue whether we're in or out of the pandemic. Here in Texas, we're moving forward. So I expect in the next 6 months, people and companies, hiring authorities are going to start challenging the gap now, because there are so many jobs out there. They're going to start challenging. What do you mean it's been 3 years now? Every time you turn on the news, every time you open something up, it talks about the number of opportunities out there. Texas being 90,000 jobs in 1 month. There is a little bit of an hourglass there that you want to look for those gap jobs while you're still looking for maybe that next perfect job or such. That's my suggestion there. Next thing is, don't always look in the same place. Don't go to, I 8 to 9 every morning, I look at Monster, Career Builder, Job Diva, or Indeed, and then at 9 to 10 or 10 to 11, I do my LinkedIn, you want to augment and circumvent other new creative ways. Hopefully I gave you a few. For example, going and finding the vendors of those 100 companies that are moving into North Texas, finding those suppliers, find those contact people, reaching out to them and thinking, hey, welcome to Texas. I'm also here. I've been here 17 years. You'll find this is a great place. I wanted to connect up with you because we both have a marketing background, or whatever it may be. That's a new and innovative way to get to people that are going to reach out here that are moving. And they still may be in St. Louis. They still could be in Atlanta, but they're needing to fill their offices, their positions here in the North Texas area. Reach out to them. Other ways is, instead of going to, like I said, these big monster, these big job boards and all, find some, there are out there some very selective, highly niche. If you are a graphics designer, there's a number of graphics designer job only boards. If you are a sculptor, maybe there's one out there, I don't know, I only deal with tech, but the point being, you probably can go find some. It doesn't hurt. You go and try it. If you don't get any traction after a month, then yes, move on. But my point to challenge you is, you need to look at other places. You need to turn over other rocks than the typical rocks that you think you're going to do. Whew, boy, I did a great job looking today, and I'm going to start again tomorrow. You got to challenge yourself. Your accountability partner should be other ways to bounce people off of. If they're not giving you ideas and holding you accountable things, you need to find somebody else. So you can't just say, okay, yeah, I understand. I know the bills are tough. I hope I can help you again next week. When are we going to talk? No, they need to be someone that's going to be a pain in your neck. To, oh gosh, I got to see Sally on Friday. I've only done this much. I better work really hard these next 2 days because Sally's going to give it to me if I don't. That's the kind of accountability person you want. And the last thing is, when you do those reach outs on LinkedIn, when you do those reach outs in social media, find a connectivity. Hey, I noticed we both went to A&M. I noticed we both like tennis. Oh, it looks like whatever, maybe, don't say, oh, I like your 3 children. And boy, Johnny, I don't think they look good in red. Don't go that far, but try to find a way to connect with them on a professional level. And that's going to have a better chance for them to reach out to them. Don't just say, hey, I thought that we could connect on our network and I thought we'd be mutually interested. Let me know. Don't do things like that. Again, all the things I'm suggesting takes time and research, but it's going to give you your best opportunity for getting an impact and a response. Another thing is many of you have only worked in full-time positions. If you've noticed, Jeff knows this, I never ever used to work permanent jobs. There are no permanent jobs. I'm sorry. You do not have permanent jobs anywhere in the marketplace. There's either full-time positions or there's contract positions. And I forgot to put the slide in there. I meant to do this. So here's a shocker for you all, or maybe for some of you at least. We are in April of 2022. By the end of 2024, so what's that, 18 months, 20 months or so, in 20 months, 64% of all jobs are contract. I'm gonna say that again. By the end of 2024, 64%, 2/3 of all job openings are contract. So if you aren't open and looking for contract positions, you're missing 2/3 of the open jobs that are going to be out there. Another thing about contract positions, it adds an opportunity to add more experience to your resume. Look at those contract positions. Guess what else happens? Contract positions at times open to full-time positions. Because now you're demonstrating your work. Now you're showing what you're capable of. Now you're privy to the internal job boards that that aren't available to people that are outside the company. You are now have your windows. You can go walk down the hall, or maybe not walk down the hall, but you have the internal email address and phone number of the person, that manager that you can reach out to for opportunities from inside the company. So again, having a chance to look at that and it's, well, I need benefits and I need insurance and I want time off paid. Yeah, get used to it, because that's not what the marketplace is going. It's not going to change. And the sooner that you understand that contract positions are going to be another opportunity to grow your career, the better you're going to be marketable for now and the next job after that. So hopefully that strikes something. Hopefully that helps you all think about contract roles. Okay, and here's the, okay, good. I did. So like I mentioned, 64%. Independent work is continuing to grow. We're seeing that. What has happened is the pandemic has accelerated the rise. Another thing, a lot of times independent contractors, consultants and all, 85% of them have remote work. So you have some possibility to now work remotely. Almost half work 100% remote. So that all happens in independent work. The other thing that's pushing and accelerating the rise of contract work are our children. Those Gen Y and I just found out that Gen Y and millennials are really the same term. So, but the Gen Y, the Gen Z is from 1980 to 1996 birth times. So they prefer contract. They want flexibility. They're going to be here in Dallas for X amount of time. Then they're going to say, I want to see what it's like living on the coast. And they're going to switch to find a job in Miami. No, it's too hot here. I'm decided. I've snowboarded twice. I'm up to a little snowboarding. So they go to Colorado Springs for a year. So, and those are all contract positions. So they're showing the being autonomous with their job, autonomous with geography. They're going to work for a company in Palo Alto and live in Dayton because they like being close to the Canadian border. I don't know. The point being, contract positions are opportunities, and the gig economy is what is going to be that we're all going to have to get used to. So hopefully, yeah, Feel free to ask me questions on this. I apologize. It's not maybe what some of you want to hear. That is the reality today. So, and then I talked about this a few times. You got to find yourself an accountability partner. Sometimes a spouse is a good one. The thing is, you want to find someone that's encouraging and accountable and not nagging. Maybe nagging. Maybe it's more of a trusted friend, a business associate. Find someone that is going to, they're going to treat you as a work relationship. You're going to create your work plan. You're going to add hopefully some of these tips that I've given you and augment that to what you've already done. LinkedIn, and I'm sure everyone that you come out and talk that talks to you talks about LinkedIn. That's going to be your best path to employment. That in your connectivity in your network, and so it's going to take time and effort, and it's more time and effort than you expect. But you know what? It's going to be an improvement in your life. And once you get on board and understand this, then it's just going to be a new way of life. And it's just going to be something that we're just going to have to get used to there. And then, of course, last thing is once you do land and once you now have that, that's next position that you're working in, that new area, you also want to make sure that you continue to update your resume and continue to network. You should still have accountability. I'm going to add 10 more connections a week, 20, whatever it may be. You don't want to stop that. So that's my key thing. That's my story. And I appreciate everyone. Jeff, I thank you for letting me have the invitation. I'm ready to ask any more questions.
Right. All right. Well, I know Rusty, you had a question. You want to unmute your mic and I'll let you ask it.
Yeah, absolutely. Rick, thanks so much for the great information. Very intriguing on the contract data that you're sharing, that 64% forecast. Can you share what is the source of that information? Where does that come from? And is there a way that I can find out what the forecast is for my functional area?
So we have that particular number came from a Robert Half professional services
Gotcha.
Newsletter, and they're a competitor there, but I still doesn't mean that I don't go and read their things. We're seeing it. We do both direct hire and contract. Right now, we are at 75% contract, 25% direct hire in our particular business. And we don't select, we go and engage in our clients to help them find talent. And that's the talent needs that they are giving us. So, and like I showed with the workforce is also doing it. But let's take the other side of that. Why are companies doing this? You know, I'm sure a lot of you understand why. It's the cost. When you do contract work, you're not paying benefits, you're not paying healthcare, you're not paying insurance, you're not paying PTO, you're not paying workman's comp, all those costs. So all of us overnight, it's a 35% savings for companies. And so, and then every contract that we have, used to be a contract, we need a contractor for a year, we're going to keep them busy and doing work. Every contract now is a statement of work for a project duration. And so everything is being funded in companies, it's project-based, and that's why it goes with contract labor matches up well with that. So that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, David asked, is there a way to get a copy of these slides? Yes, I will put, Rick sent me a PDF of all these slides. I will put that out into an email. So as long as I have your contact information into the chat box, as long as you put that either in the chat box or for those on Facebook, into the comment field, name, phone number, name, email address, I will be sure to get those out to you. So yeah, we'll get you all those slides that are there. So Rick, a question. You said 75% of your people are contract. So how does somebody who's brand new into doing contracts or getting into that kind of 1099 gigs, how do you figure out how much you should be getting paid? Now, I know a lot of companies are going to say, well, here's what we're offering, but how does somebody who hasn't had to do that be able to figure out what's fair and not fair?
Wasn't it last year I walked through contract numbers with everyone or with your group? But I can answer that question. I'll use some simple math and hopefully and people can email me and I can also walk through it a little bit more in detail. But a simple answer, let's say you're used to making $100K a year. $100,000. The simple math is you divide that by 2,000 hours. Now, of course, in a year is 2,080, but again, simply 2,000. So what that means is that in the first step, $100,000 annual salary equates to about 50 an hour in a contract rate. But that's just a wage. Now you got to think about you're now responsible for your healthcare, saving money so you can take time off for training. You now have training. Sometimes you may have taxes and all. What we do is we encourage people to then add another 15% over that dollar amount to get to your real contract rate. So again, repeating myself, if we're used to making 100,000 a year, divided by 2,000, that's $50 an hour. Then add 15%, which would be another $15. So your contract rate that would be competitive for in the marketplace would be $65 an hour. That's the $50 an hour plus 15. So that's the way I suggest. And that math works easy. You make 200,000 a year divided by 2,000. That's $100 an hour plus 15. You make 100. It asks for 115. That's what I would suggest.
Okay, wonderful. Susan says here, will the majority of jobs becoming contract? We might need a refresher on what it takes to set ourselves up for that. So you've got 75% of your people that are now doing contract. Do they all set up LLCs? You know, what do you do to protect yourself against, you know, lawsuits and other things like that as a contractor?
Well, number one, you really can't protect yourself against lawsuits. You can only try to do some things that are manageable. I wouldn't go down that path of doing an LLC or doing a corporation because it may not be your cup of tea, or you can check that box and get another full-time position. Most contracting firms, or I should say two things. Most companies today will not work with an independent individual to bring them on contract. You have to work through a placement firm, a staffing firm, a company like ours. And so all of us will hire you as a W-2 employee. So we will be responsible for withholding your FICA and your Social Security. We would give you an opportunity, an offer for your healthcare benefits. So you still would be typically like a regular employee. And I would probably pay you, and using the same example, 50, 52 an hour, 55 an hour, depending upon if you want healthcare or if you want, I want to get, you know, accrued vacation. It's some number between 50 and 65 an hour. And so there's no legal steps that you need to start by yourself. Now, let's say through your networking, you find someone that you that says they can work with you directly. You probably might want to look into that. You can do it's called a 1099. It's an IRS classification where you pretty much are paid like you pay your air conditioning repair guy. You write them a check and then they're responsible for your own taxes. And then you got to file your taxes quarterly. Then you probably need to go ahead and talk to a tax accountant, your accountant, your CPA, to see how you want to handle it. But initially I would go and I would highly suggest for your first step into this world, I would more strongly suggest, even if you find a direct relationship where they can work with you, you go find a staffing firm that says, hey, I have La Madeline that wants to hire me. They want to pay me $100 an hour. Can you be my representative to La Madeline for this 6-month contract? And most companies will say, we probably can do that. I might have to pay you $90 an hour because I have to take your taxes. And because now I'm paying your workman's comp insurance and Arizona emissions insurance and cybersecurity insurance. So all those are fees, and it's just simple math. I mean, those are expenses I have. I'm going to allocate some of those to you, and you're probably better off getting paid $90 an hour working through me than trying to do $100 an hour having that legal liability exposure that you're asking about.
So in, the case you talk about that 75% of your business now, or what you see is contract, you've actually hired them as a W-2 employee through R2 Technologies, and you're just subbing them out to these different firms. They're paying, and then you're handling so in a sense, it's sort of like a full-time job because it is a W-2 job, but yet it's, you're not necessarily working directly for the company.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So I think that's one of the things that may scare people, is because you think, all right, 60% of, 2/3 of jobs are going to be contract jobs. There's a good chance that of those 2/3 of the jobs, most of them, 4/5 of them, may be W-2 jobs through recruiting firms that are placing people for temporary positions.
Exactly. That's actually correct. Yes.
So what would you do for somebody, or how do you suggest somebody show this on their resume? So they've worked for you and they've done this 6-month job, they did this 3-month job, they've done this, 4-month job. How do you recommend them listing that on a resume to show that?
So I would go with the end client first, like the Madeline, and then parentheses on contract through R2 Technologies. I would put Capital One on contract through Robert Half. I would put Bank of America on contract through ABC Corporation. That's because hiring companies, they don't know who R2, they may not know who R2 is, or ABC Staffing, but they know who Capital One is. They know who Bank of America is. And that way, well, it was only 3 months. Help me understand why it's through. Oh, it was a contract job. Sure, I completely understand.
Okay, great. And do you recommend that they may, on your resume, that you put a section, contract positions, and you have one overall long date, and then you list what you just said as some like little sub things underneath that one heading? Because if you don't, then you sort of show that you're job hopping, but people may not realize that they're, that it's a contract kind of thing.
Yeah, in fact, that's exactly another good question. Let's say they had 3 6-week assignments over the course of 3 months. Then I would put the big title would be like independent consulting, and then indent, and then it would show the 3 contracts. And then at that point, you don't even have to put the dates for those independent jobs. You just show the independent consulting the last 6 months.
Okay.
And the people are going to want to go and learn, what did you do in those projects? That's what they're hiring for, expertise, not for so much duration.
So how often when you get somebody's resume, do you go, oh, now we're going to need to fix this, we need to redo this so that it'll look good to the company?
Almost every time.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Does anybody else, if you've got a question, you're welcome to unmute your mic and ask the question away.
Jeff, I have a question. This is Meredith.
Yeah,
With your example you just gave, how would you explain that to a potential employer that you're seeking? How would you explain all of your continuous contract work? I'm doing this because I love contract work, or I'm doing this as I, seek full-time employment. How would you explain that to someone if they contacted you and see that you've been working contract a whole lot?
Well, your resume is just going to show your experience, the tasks and assignments that you did, what actions and activities you performed, and your deliverables. So it doesn't read any different than a full-time position. The only thing that may indicate it is if you put a time frame on it. It should read.
You wouldn't consider it to be a negative thing? That's my question.
That's the world where we're in.
Yeah, I think nowadays, people who don't understand that are probably people who've never been unemployed or never had to deal with contractors. If they've only dealt with full-time employees, they won't get that. But, like Rick says, that is today's world. People are going to get used to that. It used to, 20 years ago, if you were unemployed, it's like people didn't want to, stay away from me, you may infect me. Now everybody's been most everybody's been unemployed, and those who haven't will be one day. So this is the new where we're heading.
And let me add to that is that, like you said, and Jeff, not even 20 years ago, 10 years ago, people want to see longevity and tenure and depth and all. Now people hiring authorities want to see variety. They want to see multiple industries. They want to see short and long term, because what that shows is you can hit the ground running. You can adapt it to multiple cultures, and you bring experiences from various industries into one. When we almost are to the point when we show someone and present someone that their only job has been the last 10 years, a lot of times the manager says, what's wrong with them? Can't they work anywhere else? Isn't that a change?
Yeah, that is a real difference. And I want everybody to, understand, Rick said a very important word a few minutes ago, deliverables. Every bullet point you have on your resume needs to have a deliverable. You don't want your resume to read like a job description. You need to tell me what you did, what you delivered, what the result was, so I can go, oh, I need somebody who does the exact same thing that this person did at that job. So make sure you have results. Anybody else have a question?
Yes, Rick, you mentioned some contracting companies that large corporations use, could be Capital One, Bank of America, whatever. Do they all have one or a small number of contract companies that they approach, and where would I find such a list and approach them? I don't mind at all contract gigs, but with big companies where I want to break into the space I'm trying to get into and get some experience.
Yeah, it's, I don't know where you could find that list at.
Okay.
What you can do is just like you're targeting a Capital One or South Airlines or a Maverick Industries as your job targets, you should probably target a few staffing, Robert Half, a Major Resource, R2 Technologies if you're IT, and go to our job boards. And we're not going to tell you that we're working with Bank of America, but you may see a job there that fits your skill, and you give us that and reach out to us, and we have a dialogue with you. We'll tell you it's with Bank of America, and that's just what they're looking for and things like that. That's the time that you'll find out.
What's my first step for reaching out to you? I will do that today.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I posted my contact information. By all means, you're welcome to reach out to me. I always have an opinion, so good about
Okay. Let's just take a picture.
Yeah, well, this will be in the slide deck I put out.
I know, but hard to get, the thing is to get around to going and looking at it, and this is so much easier. I probably have it before.
Yeah.
I'd
very easy. Rick at r2now.com.
Yeah.
I think that's easy.
I've seen I've been at a presentation that you did that, what's that? The one at Stonebriar Community.
Frisco,
yeah, about a decade ago, and it was more about how to work with millennials or some such deal. It was very interesting, and I made it a point to drive all the way from Fort Worth to attend that.
Oh, wow. Hopefully it's worth your time.
A decade ago.
Right. All right, Lily, thank you. Anybody else have a question for Rick before we wrap up?
Those millennials are the ones that are hiring today. So that's the other thing. They were our hiring managers.
I do have
willing to work with me, and I'm not willing to change this. So that's a challenge I've taken on myself.
Yeah. Anyone else?
I do have one more question.
Yeah, Meredith, go ahead.
While Rick, while you're primarily IT focused, how do you go about, or is there a way to go about determining what companies or such as yourself are by categories? Like if you have your IT, is there one for like logistics? Is there one for education? Is there one for, how do you go about determining or trying to pinpoint a particular contractor or company that deals with those types of specific areas that you're targeting? If my question makes sense.
Yeah, well, and placement firms like myself, third-party firms, recruiting agencies, we also post to Monster and Indeed. So you'll see our profiles out there. If you want another way, the Dallas Business Journal has this annual publication called the Book of Lists, and it lists top 50 concrete companies, top 50 banks, top, and one of them is top 50 stuff. Oh, look at that, Jeff. Yeah, that's a good lead in right there. And if you go into a certain page, it'll say the top staffing placement firms, contract and direct hire. And I go down that list and start looking at their, all of us have websites that list all of our jobs. So I would go to that book of lists, go to the page that says top staffing firms, top temporary search firms, start at the top, start at the bottom, start at the prime numbers, whatever way you want. Go to their websites and that Dallas Business Journal says focuses on light industrial, temporary, whatever, focuses engineering, high tech, scientific. They'll tell you, so you don't have to go through all 100 names, but you can find the ones that are in the area of industry that your experience is in.
Oh, that was good information. Can you include that in your email, Jeff?
Well,
Or-
I can make
Okay.
a copy of the page.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Rick. Great information. Thank you,
Yeah,
Jeff.
the other two ways I think to reach out is, you can do a Google search. You're looking for a recruiting firm and you list and then you do a Boolean search, recruiting firm in quotes, then you do a capital AND so that it shows that you want a recruiting firm in a certain area, and then you list the area that you're interested in. That would be one way. The other way is if you're interested in a company, getting into a company, call up the HR department and ask them, do you all deal with a recruiting firm? Can you tell me who that is for people in supply chain or whatever? You're not, it's not like you're asking for a job, but you're just trying to find that if they deal with somebody, that's how they do that. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call somebody.
Absolutely. Thank
Any
you.
other questions? Anything else before we go? Well, Rick, thank you very much. Always a fascinating conversation. I love the fact that, in your bullet points and things that go, yep, that's exactly what we talk about. Yep, that's exactly what we preach. Yes, that's exactly what we're talking about. So it's great to, be able to have a recruiter who, you're doing this all the time. You're trying to find people jobs. You're trying to, place people. One other thing I would say it's very, very important dealing with recruiters is you've got to check their website and you've got to see what jobs are posted, because recruiters are really busy and they could be on 20 different things at one time. And they may, you may build a relationship with Rick, but he may not remember you when something pops up. So, check their website out. And then when you see something, you go, that's my job. That's when you reach out to Rick and say, hey, you've got this job posted on your website. I'm it. Let him know that, because you make his job a little bit easier for him. Right?
You bet. That's exactly right.
All right.
Everyone.
Well, Rick, thank you very much for your time today. Let's see here. Let's go to next week's. Next week, our subjects are going to be all about labor law. So if you have any questions about labor law, any questions you'd like to have that you'd like to talk about, please send me those questions by Wednesday, and I will get that information to Alicia. And she's presented for us many, many times before. I know somebody was asking what her name was, and here it is right here. You can find her on LinkedIn. But great information. And like I said, she's going to talk, she works for companies, not for individuals. So you would never be able to hire her. A company goes and hires her. So if you have any questions, please be sure, no company names. But if it's a situation, she'll be glad to discuss it. All right, let's see here. All right, if you have not put your 30-second introductions into the chat box, we ask that you put your name, comma, phone, comma, email address, position you're looking for, a couple target companies. For those people watching on Facebook right now, if you put your personal information in there, I will go and delete it immediately after this session's over. But this will get your name on the roster, and then you will get a copy of the slide deck that we presented out today. Career DFW and Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Please join us. Next Tuesday for LinkedIn Tuesdays, Ruth Lipsky will be with us to talk about LinkedIn search engine optimization. If you don't know Ruth, Ruth works for Lee Heck Harrison. She worked with people who are unemployed all the time and how to perfect their LinkedIn profile. You want Rick to be able to find you. How are you going to do that? You want to make sure your profile is up to date and complete. Next Wednesday, join the practice interview team, as they'll be able to watch an actual practice interview for interviewing Wednesday. And then next Thursday, we'll be talking about resumes. Rick Sayal will be with us to talk all about what your resume should look like. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. On the Career USA YouTube channel is the best way to look at these videos. Click on playlist. Every video I post goes into a playlist, and then down below, look, find whatever topic you want: resumes, interviewing, LinkedIn, networking. And then don't click on the video, but click down below where you see that red arrow where it says view full playlist. And then up will come a list of all the different titles and dates that we've done things. The dates will be in chronological order. If not, click on that little sort button at the very top, and you'll be able to go back and watch any of these videos that you want. Getting the slide deck is fine, but sometimes it's the words that go along with the slide deck that make all the difference. So thank you very much for joining us today, everybody. For those celebrating Passover starting tonight, have a good first Seder. For those that celebrate Easter, have a happy Easter. Don't eat too many chocolate rabbits. And we will see everybody next week. Have a great weekend. Rick, once again, thank you very much.